Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 337. Hello, trail seekers, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Learn True Health podcast. Today we have with us Nicole Davidsohn. She is a co-founder of evaworldwide.com, a company that advocates for the use of whole plant organic hemp supplements in order for you to obtain all of the cannabinoids that your endocannabinoid system requires. We get into all kinds of really interesting things today around health and using hemp or cannabis. And when I say that, I'm not meaning the street drug you think about that was illegal up until recently and has, of course, has been used medicinally, but still like a drug that gets people high. This is a different conversation. This type of herb used in this way does not get any people high. It's 100% safe for children. It's an herb like you would drink chamomile tea and feel maybe a bit calmer. It doesn't make you stoned or high when used as hemp. And Nicole shares how she's been able to use cannabis and hemp in its raw forms, such as juicing, to be able to reverse her ulcerative colitis, as well as her dog's terminal cancer. And she shares other stories of success, like being able to help her brain heal from a traumatic brain injury. So it's really interesting how we can utilize the power of this herb in many different ways to support the body's ability to heal itself. I know you're going to enjoy what Nicole shares today. She has extended an amazing discount for our listeners. So as you're listening, in the second half of the interview, we talk about the specific products that she has formulated. And if you're interested in trying them, she is giving a 20% discount to our listeners. You can use the coupon code LTH on her website, evaworldwide.com. And we're also doing an awesome giveaway where Nicole is giving away 10 bottles of her supplements to the Facebook group. So once this episode has gone live, I'm going to post in the Facebook group, and everyone can post underneath it what they loved about this interview, what they learned from it. And then we'll choose at random 10 people to receive a free bottle of her herbal supplements. Excellent. Well, enjoy today's interview. I know I absolutely loved it. And the moment after I finished the interview, I reached out to some friends and started chatting with them about the powers of the whole plant, the organic hemp whole plant, or juicing raw cannabis, and the power that it has to support the body. It's really amazing. So I know you're probably going to, as you're listening, think about a few friends of yours that would be interested in learning about this. And I thank you for sharing the podcast with those you love. Let's spread this information. Let's help as many people as possible to learn true health. Welcome, Nicole, to the show. I'm very excited to hear your story. How did you use raw cannabis and hemp to heal your digestive issues and heal your brain injury and heal your dog? I'm really excited to learn from you today. Please start by sharing your story.
So it all began in spring of 2014 with a series of accidents that caused Dane and I to end up starting Eva. So Dane was in a near-death experience car accident. He was actually ran off the road and he hit an electric pole head on. He kind of brushed it off and went back to work that same day, but he did later start suffering from post-concussion syndrome. And then also in spring 2014, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. So I had ended up being sick since January. And the doctors, they first thought it was just a stomach flu because everybody had it in January. So they're like, okay, just, do the flu protocol, right? But it just never stopped. And one doctor actually misdiagnosed me. He gave me Flagyl, which is like the strongest antibiotic. And I guess I was allergic to it. So I ended up in the ER, and the ER doctors were like, you've been sick so long, let's schedule a colonoscopy. And that's when they finally gave me my diagnosis of ulcerative colitis. So before I was diagnosed, I was a raw vegan. So I was juicing and using my Vitamix to make soups and had my whole fridge full of organic, local fruits and vegetables. And the doctor, don't know if she was a GI doctor, but she was the doctor who did my colonoscopy. She told me, you can't eat any more raw fruits and vegetables. And so I started eating boiled chicken and sweet potatoes just to get back on track, even though I hadn't eaten meat in probably over 10 years. So then just a few months later in autumn, I fell down a flight of stairs. At the time, I was living in a basement apartment in Washington, D.C., and there was about 5 concrete stairs, and then the apartment was brick. So I hit my side of my face, my cheek on the brick wall as I fell down the stairs. I ended up it was like a fluke. I ended up slipping on a leaf because it was just autumn and all the leaves had just fallen. And I just slipped on one, fell down the stairs. My whole body went like left side down. So I did this thing called guarding, where your whole body like flexes to protect itself. But at the time I was bodybuilding, so my muscles flexed so hard that they actually, some of them tore off of my spine and off of my ribs. And so I ended up with like a misplaced rib and extreme pain all throughout my nervous system. So that was my first concussion, and I was really stubborn. I was personal trainer, spin instructor, just got a job as a group fitness manager. So I was like gung-ho, just going full force, had a lot of energy, and thought, oh, this is nothing. I just fell and brushed it off. But then I went to work on Monday, and I taught a HIIT class, so high intensity interval class for legs and back. And I just pushed through like any soreness or pain I had, if it was just like another workout with delayed onset muscle soreness. But shortly after the class ended, I was like feeling terrible, the worst I'd ever felt in my life. My head was pounding, my body was shaking. Like I called Dane, and he had just got back from a trip from North Carolina, and I told him, like, I feel like I'm gonna die. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I've never felt this way before. And so he drove down from Baltimore to DC. He rushed me to the ER. They loaded me up on opiates and muscle relaxers. They gave me an MRI and, told me like what all my injuries and things like that. So that was the day I stopped going to work and began basically a downward spiral of depression spurred by my injuries, not being able to be a full-time trainer, and the post-concussion syndrome. So weeks went by, and I tried to take the medications the doctors gave me, which were really strong. And I was a raw vegan, before, so I was really clean. My body was like very clean. So these medications were really hard on me. The opiates made me terribly sick. And I didn't want to take them. I knew that, this pharmaceutical stuff isn't good, but they told me they had to slow down my brain because it was just overinflamed. So that, they told me, you need to rest. So I ended up just sleeping days away that turned into sleeping weeks away and avoiding the sun and noise like the plague. Like I couldn't be in light. I couldn't hear noise. I just needed to be in my dark basement apartment. That's what I thought. So I even ended up giving Dane my dog, which is Mary, to take care of because I couldn't even handle getting up, walking her, feeding her, playing with her. It was like the worst. I'd never been in this situation before. And I was really stubborn. I didn't want to let anybody help me. So I was just like, just leave me alone. Just take all my stuff. Like, let me die here. I basically just gave up on life. So post-concussion syndrome is really bad. Like, I don't know, the traumatic brain injury, it was really tough on me. So after about 8 weeks of being this stubborn and like just melting away, just withering away, Dane and his parents decided to convince me to move into their home in Baltimore so his mom could help take care of me. And she is the sweetest thing in the world. And she, I was refusing to even eat because I was just so gone and like in so much pain and everything. that she would buy me like green juices and make me food and walked my dog and everything basically. So they are a godsend, Dane's parents. Um, it's about December now, and it was the middle of the night, and Dane wakes me up and he says, "Do you want to go to California to go to Oaksterdam?" And I was like, "What do you mean? You're crazy. That school got shut down over 10 years ago." And he's like, "No, I've just done my research and they're open. And I want to take their cannabis seminar on the history of growing, how to grow the plant, how to start a cannabis business in California." And I laughed and thought, "Oh, God, he's crazy. What are you talking about?" Because I'm like, in the middle of my slumber, still depressed. And, we're living on the East Coast. And so he's like, "What do you have to lose?" And he said, "You don't have to learn anything. I just want you to sit with me. I'll pay your way. Just come to California with me. Just try. You have nothing, like, you're not doing anything else. Just sit in a chair with me." And Dane Kemp, our founder, is always pushing me slightly out of my comfort zone like this to help me grow and really become the person I want to be. So I'm really thankful that he woke me up and was like, "You're doing this, let's go do this. And I'll support you all the way."
Was cannabis, like, why was he so passionate about it? Was cannabis something that was helping him through his recover from his concussion in that car accident? Like, what made him want to travel across country to study cannabis?
So this was the end of 2014, the beginning of 2015, the industry was just beginning to open up. I think Colorado was the only legal state, maybe Washington, Oregon. I can't recall right now.
Yep, Washington, and I think Washington and Colorado got it at the same time,
Okay.
because it became legal here. I'm in Washington State. It became legal here right before my son was born, so that would have been in 2014.
Okay. So I guess he has a really good eye for seeing, I don't want to say like seeing the future, but like seeing the future of like business and how things are developing and where things are headed. And he's always wanted to own his own business. And he went to UNC, and so he's got like really great education. And cannabis has helped him in the past. I think it helped him with some like attention issues. Like it really helped him focus. And I think it on the East Coast, it's not really easy to get. Like, even though I had a medical card for my ulcerative colitis in DC, they limited me to 2 grams per day of the only strain they had, and it was Blue Dream. And Blue Dream is a strain to get you thinking, get you creative, invigorate your mind. So it was the opposite of what I needed when I had to slow down my brain and, get rid of inflammation and actually not think. So, they gave me this card to, try and help me, but the medical system, you can't just smoke any cannabis and get relief from it. You have to have the correct ratios of cannabinoids and terpenes to help you with your specific ailment. So it didn't seem like they really understood that yet in DC in 2014, 2015.
Mm-hmm. Right, or the right people didn't understand it.
In DC, the dispensary you go to is dependent on your address. So depending on where you live, you can only go to one dispensary. And so I could only go to one. They only had one strain and they cap it at 2 grams per day. So you had to get flour. You couldn't get something to, like, you couldn't get oil, you couldn't get edibles. You had to just get flour, like herbal flowers, and then smoke them, which is not the best for someone who's really trying to recover. Like it'll stand in, but again, the strain was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So he saw an opportunity, and he also saw he saw an opportunity, and he also saw a way to help people.
So I'm missing a piece of your story, which is how did you guys become such close friends? Are you friends? Are you partners? Or
Oh, we're together.
Okay. So you were dating at the time when
Yes.
his car accident happened in 2014?
Yes.
Okay. Just had to fill that in my mind. I'm like, who's this strange man that's so helpful and supportive? Um
Yeah, he loves me, so
That's awesome.
that's why.
That's super
And
cool.
honestly, him, Dane and his family have shown me the most love in my entire life. Like, I come from a
Mm.
big family, but the level of care and love they have in their hearts is unmeasurable.
Mhm.
For because I was so broken, and we'd only been dating a limited amount of time before they said, "Let's take her in, let's take care of her, let's help her, let's do this." So
Mhm.
he really stepped up and really does care about me.
And those kind of people that show care, tend to also show care in their business. That's actually something I'm just about to publish an episode, and a second interview with Eric Thornton, and we talk all about this understanding of sort of personal karma and business karma, and when someone cares and shows it on a personal level, it spills over into their business, because they if they care about individuals, they're gonna care about their customers. And so it's nice to see that, and you can see that in the companies that genuinely do care about individuals and about customers, versus I got to make a profit, and where am I going to cut corners, and so I like that. But let's get back to your story. So here you are. You have now moved to California to study how to
No,
grow
not quite
cannabis.
yet. Not quite yet. We booked a trip. So we got a flight out there. We booked a hotel, and it was a 4-day advanced seminar at Oaksterdam in Oakland, California. So we
Mm-hmm.
booked a hotel in Oakland. We flew out, and which again, I was scared because of my concussion. I thought like my brain was going to explode in the plane because of the pressure.
Oh my gosh.
But the doctor was like, "No, it's been long enough. You'll be okay. Just take it easy." But so we flew out. We get to California, and I actually call up an old friend who lives in Oakland as well, and he gives me a bag of medical cannabis goodies, which is like edibles, vapes, and joints. I specifically remember this caramel popcorn, and I wasn't supposed to eat popcorn because I had ulcerative colitis, but I was like, I'm fine. Let me just try this, and I ate the THC popcorn, and I hadn't felt better in, I'm gonna say, months to years. Like, my head felt clear, my back pain melted away. I hadn't felt this good and relaxed in so long. I was like, wow, this really is medicine. Because it was the first time I used cannabis as a real medicine, because I was like
Mm-hmm.
actually had real injuries and stuff, instead of using it recreationally, or instead of, I used it as an antidepressant as a teenager, and, smoked here and there, but I never really needed it and could tell like the exact medical benefits of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, if you use it recreationally, then you think, oh yeah, I hear it's good, if you're sick, blah blah blah. But then when you're actually sick and you have something like ulcerative colitis and post concussion syndrome, and then you feel the effects of the cannabinoids wash over you
Mm-hmm.
and get into your body and start healing it, and you're like, this is something else, there's no side effects, there's no adverse effects. It was just, I just felt better. So that was the first day we got there. So over the next 4 days we took the seminar at Oaksterdam College, and they were kind, courteous, professional. They had amazing stories. We learned so much about cannabis, cannabinoids, growing it, the history, starting a business, learning about the industry, um, all sorts of things. And it was only our first step, but we were stoked. When we were flying back, we were like super excited. So this was the day that I felt alive again. I wasn't half dead anymore. So Dane really did. He pushed me a little bit out of my comfort zone and reinvigorated me and my spirit and my soul. So when we got back home to the East Coast, Dane made a plan to quit his job in a few months so he could save money for the move, and then we would drive across country to start a new life, a new business, and to begin healing holistically.
So at this point, I'm thinking, if I was in your shoes, so this is my personality is I don't like feeling out of control. Like I don't drink alcohol, I don't do any kind of drugs. I don't like feeling out of control. I never have. And I would be concerned that taking the stuff that your friend gave you would make me stoned. And that's something that I think a lot of people, when you have pain, that's one thing. Because I think when people have pain, they just want a relief. And so they don't mind feeling kind of high or stoned. But if I want to function in my life day to day and help my body heal, I want to be able to take the benefits of the cannabis without feeling high, from feeling high from pain meds or feeling high from, herbs. Either way, I
Hmm.
don't want to feel high. So when you were taking this popcorn, like, did it make you feel high? Were you able to still do the classes, or was this something that just had the medicine but didn't have the properties to make you sort of like out of your mind?
So I ate the popcorn at night, and I fell asleep and slept really well. So it did have THC in it, and I was still able to take the classes. I wasn't really high when I went to go to class, right? Because I did want to, absorb the information. And what they say is like the state you're in is like the state you'll remember it. So if I was high, then I'd always have to be high to remember the information I learned. So I was like, I don't want to be, and I didn't have that much of the stuff. It was just a little gift. And so I just used it after class. So that stuff that he did give me did get me stoned, but I'll tell you what, it wasn't anything like the opiates or the epilepsy or the fibromyalgia medicine they were trying to give me for all of my weird symptoms that was going on, because my nervous system got messed up. So I had all these weird pains and like burning sensations and all these things on my body that I was like, just felt like I was falling apart. But the cannabinoids, like even if it was just THC popcorn, even that made me feel better. He gave us some other stuff that had full spectrum, so it had like other cannabinoids and other terpenes in it, not just the THC. So I'm sure all of that together helped. But this was just like the tip of the iceberg that convinced me, like, oh, you can use this as medicine. Like even if you feel stoned, you can still use this as medicine. And I'll go into like what you said, like you don't want to feel out of control. So when we actually got to California and started the business, that was my first thought was I can't be stoned all the time. I have to run this business. I need to figure out how to take cannabis without getting high, because like I understand that most of these bud tenders and everything, they're all stoned and enjoy being like high during the job and all day, and it's great and happy, but I couldn't. I'm a naturally hyper person, so I couldn't be stoned. It makes me like lethargic and gives me the munchies, and I don't want to do anything. Right, so they can't, not great to get work done.
Right.
So that's when we moved towards, when we got to California, I had been studying Dr. William Courtney, and he's famous for cannabis juice, right? So I know I've heard you speak about him before. And so I wanted to grow my own vegan cannabis plant and juice it. So I bought an arrow garden and I planted some seeds and I started growing cannabis like a normal herb on the counter. And then when it was big enough, I stuck it in my juicer with some turmeric, suggested by my DC GI doctor for my ulcerative colitis, and then ginger because I like the taste of ginger and I thought it would. It's like always in green juice, so I'm like, okay, I'll just put ginger in there too, and then, and then later did the research and found out like how well they work together and how synergistic they are, and how turmeric is actually called like yellow ginger in some places. They're cousins. They're both
Mm.
roots and they're cousins, turmeric and ginger. So gingerols and curcumins, they synergistically work together in the body. So it's really great. And then, so I had the cannabis, which was the raw cannabis. So it was rich in THCA, CBDA, a bunch of CBG, which is the mother lode of all cannabinoids, where all cannabinoids come from. And then like all the other, like it was a whole plant, right? You stick the buds and the flowers and the flowers, the leaves and the stems completely into the juicer. And I thought it was going to taste bad, but it actually tastes great. You would never guess. So you're like, oh, this is going to taste like grass, right? But it actually tasted really good, like berries, because we were growing a raspberry type of strain.
And just because it's not heated, you can't get high, because which is something we've discussed on the show before. But just to reiterate for those who haven't heard those episodes, can you explain why juicing a cannabis plant will not get you high?
Sure. So cannabis has acidic cannabinoids in its raw form. So when it's growing and you see the green leaves and the flowers, even if they're colorful flowers, it's still in its raw form. So THC is THCA, so it has a carbon molecule on it. And for it to become psychoactive or to make you feel high, you need to heat it to 220 degrees Fahrenheit for a certain amount of time. So usually when you're making like a cannabis butter, they say about 20 minutes will activate about 98% of it. So it's not even just 1 second of 220 degree heat. You're going to need to sustain that heat to activate that cannabinoid and decarboxylate it, or taking off that carbon acidic molecule. So when you juice it, you just like you would go outside, you pick a fresh apple off the tree and you chop it up and you put it in your juicer. I would just pick the bud off the plant. Well, I would cut it off nice to the plant and then put it in the juicer. And it extracts all the cannabinoids and terpenes and chlorophyll, which is super healthy for you. And goes into your juice. So no stone, but it is very energizing.
So yeah, tell us about your first time. So there you are drinking the plant that you grew on your counter like an herb.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it tastes really good. What did you notice first, like within the first few minutes of drinking it? Because we absorb juice so quickly. Like when I drink carrot juice or beet juice, like within minutes, I almost feel like a natural high. Like it feels so cleansing and so good. And your body absorbs all this oxygen, and just within minutes, every cell in your body is saturated with the nutrients and the oxygen from the juice. So juicing is very therapeutic in small amounts. I think a lot of us that tend to overdo juicing, which then we get, then we get carried away. So we have to do it responsibly because it's concentrated, right? The lifeblood of the plant. But there you are. You've drank your first glass ever of your raw cannabis juice. Within minutes, how did you feel? What were you experiencing?
So the first thing I felt was my eyes widen. And as you're saying, like the oxygen, it felt like I was awakened, I would say. My brain cleared up. So the feeling of brain fog. It's just like you're trudging through the mud and every thought, every sentence is like hard to reach. You're just reaching for the correct word, the correct thought, the correct way to say something. And so the juice, I should have drank some juice this morning. The juice just cleared everything away. It gave me like 4 to 6 hours of energy. I wanted to clean the house. I wanted to do everything. It was amazing, like an energy shot, right? And hemp or cannabis, raw cannabis, is full, like you said, of nutrients. It's not just chlorophyll, the cannabinoids and the terpenes, but it's also a complete protein. People know they eat hemp protein. It's a complete protein with all the essential amino acids. It has a ton of vitamins and minerals in it, especially the minerals. So you get minerals from the dirt, right? But I was giving it vegan nutrients, so it had minerals in it. But I'm just gonna say, like, from the plant, from its seed, it's packed full of nutrients that we don't normally get. That's also why it's super energizing when people drink cannabis juice. Is number one, they don't drink it often, right? It's really rare. And then number two is that they're absorbing all these nutrients they don't normally have. So if you go and you don't normally eat blueberries, but you eat a handful of blueberries, you're going to feel super energized. Or if you don't normally eat a salad and you go and eat a salad, you're going to feel all this energy from it. And you're going to be like, oh, wow, like I should eat salads more often. But it's because you're deficient in those nutrients. So it was like my body was like, thank you so much. Like, this is what I needed.
Mm-hmm. And at this point, did you still have the ulcerative colitis?
Oh, yeah. So when I had my fall, my colitis actually went into remission. I asked my doctor why that happened, and they said your body is in such shock that it like devoted its priorities to brain inflammation instead of gut inflammation. So
Mm.
I thought that was just really weird. But they said, yeah, that's just you basically press the reset button on your body, so it's not in the same flare as it was before. So my fall actually put me into like a slight remission from flares for a while. But when I did get back to California, I was stressed about starting my very first business and doing well. And I was insecure about my brain and my body and my ability to be a business owner.
You still had colitis.
Yeah, I did. And so the reason I started juicing was to help my brain recover, but it was also to get my colitis back in remission because the Dr. William Courtney's wife now used cannabis juice to get her autoimmune disorders in remission. So I figured if it could help her, then maybe it could help me.
So what did you notice with your bowel health after starting to juice? How often were you juicing? How much were you drinking? And when did you start to notice shifts in your digestive health?
I'm going to say immediately because green juice has a way of detoxing you and cleaning you out. So you would think it would cause you to have to go immediately. But I think because I needed the nutrients, it started to slow my digestion and bring my body back to homeostasis instead of an inflamed state.
Mm-hmm. So instead of having diarrhea, it started to come back to healthy bowel movements?
Yes, exactly. So people with ulcerative colitis, they either have constipation or diarrhea, and mine was of the latter. So I was more of the like running to the bathroom kind of person. So that causes a whole nother level of anxiety that is like really annoying.
I bet.
So yeah. So being in remission is makes me like whenever I'm in remission, which I am now, it feels so great because you can just live a normal life.
When did you, was it 2015 that you first
hmm
had your first glass of
hmm
raw cannabis juice?
Yeah, it was the summer of 2015.
Awesome. Okay, so it's been like almost 3.5 years coming up on it's gonna be 4 years this summer. What happened over the next few months? How often did you drink it, and what happened to your health over the next few months?
So the biggest thing I noticed from ulcerative colitis was fatigue. So the way that
Mm.
it really hurt my life was that I just wanted to sleep all day and I had no appetite because ulcerative colitis is like food poisoning. So whenever you put food in, your body thinks, oh, this is poison. So it like reacts that way. So it was really hard for me to keep an appetite and to continue eating. So what I did was I made the juice as often as possible. It is difficult. Like, first of all, juicing is not the easiest thing in the world. You have to have other produce, you have to cut it, you have to have it fresh, and you have to have the energy to even make the juice, right? So I would juice. I can't actually say like exactly. I know that on my personal website, I did blog about it a bit. Um, and but I'm gonna say that I juiced at least 3 times a week. But once I made like a container of it, it lasts 3 days. Unless you vacuum seal it, then it could last up to 7 days. Which I progressively learned how to preserve the juice because it's not easy. It wasn't really easy for me to grow the plant. It was my first time growing, and then like keeping it alive, keeping it in veg cycle, because like once it flowers, it dies. So then you have to grow a whole new one, and then it starts as like a tiny little baby. And so it was a process. Okay, I wasn't consistent at first because it was like I was just learning how to do it all. And
Right.
so for the first, like, I'm going to say year, I was juicing like every month.
It wasn't daily, it wasn't weekly, but it was definitely monthly that you were getting it in your body.
Yes, and I was taking other cannabinoids as well because we were getting into the industry. We started Eva, which started out as the first 100% comprehensively lab tested dispensary delivery in Sonoma County. So it was the only one still in California. Now dispensaries are required to have everything tested, but if you still go in today, they may not have a test for something. So it's really where Dane came from quality assurance, and I come from being sick. So I'm like really adamant about what am I taking? What's in it? Are there pesticides? Is there aerobic bacteria? Is there yeast? Is there mold? So really getting familiar with the COAs, the certificate of analysis on everything. And we were the only, like I said, we were the only dispensary in California in 2015 to have our entire menu comprehensively third-party lab tested.
Absolutely. I have a friend who would get migraines from marijuana, and he had to go through like every single different strain until he realized that there was only like two companies out there. This is in Washington that would grow outdoors, 100% organic, no chemicals, and that was fine. And so he would get to the point where you could give him like a taste test basically, and he'd be able to tell you if that plant was clean or not because his body would react to all the chemicals. And unfortunately, because the demand has become so high, the growers are more apt to use chemical fertilizers and chemical, whatever chemicals they can use to increase their yield and increase the profits, because at the end of the day they're not actually making that much money right now. There's just the way the industry is set up is that the growers are really not making enough money, so they're looking where they could cut corners. And unfortunately, this is no longer, at least in Washington state, I can say this is no longer a medicinal focused conversation. It's just a recreational conversation. And so someone who's looking at healing their body with this herb, they need to be very selective. And like you said, the testing is so important, and understanding where it comes from, and whether there's, like you said, even after, so during the growing process, if there's chemicals used, but also after the growing process, if there's mold left, for example, that can be very harmful, especially if someone's compromised, their immune system's compromised, and they're looking to use this as an herb to help them to decrease inflammation. That's just going to exacerbate the problem. So I'm glad that you guys focus as a dispensary on what you can do to educate the consumer, to help the consumer who is still focused on the medicinal side of this conversation and not the recreational side. We definitely want to get into the conversation of your company, Eva. We're going to get into
Yeah.
that. But first, I want to complete the conversation about how it has helped you heal. Do you feel, or do you feel that you also receive results with healing your post-concussion syndrome? Do you have anything to share around that?
The juice made me feel invigorated. It cleared my mind right away. It didn't heal my post-concussion syndrome. I actually went to speech therapy for that because I was having trouble I had all these thoughts in my head, but for some reason I couldn't translate them into words to come out of my mouth. It was one of the most frustrating things that made me feel very insecure about my intellect because I was a straight A student my whole life. So, graduated UC Irvine with honors and all this. So, not being able to express myself intellectually was really, really harmful to feeling myself, right? So, the cannabis juice helped, but I want to say that later when we actually started formulating the capsules that we have now, so the juice inspired the capsules that we have. And I made one called Better Brain, which has bacopa, matcha, and the whole plant flower, the whole organic hemp flower in it. So at the time back then, we were in the cannabis industry. It was cannabis, right? But now we've switched over to be legal worldwide so that we're using USDA organic hemp, but it's still raw flowers, raw cannabinoids. And so that actually, I think that what really helped my brain come back to 100%, because I kind of feel like I was working at maybe 50% doing the dispensary. It wasn't easy for me. The juice helped. I'm gonna say, it helped me get through every day. But what really helped more was focusing on that specific formula for the brain to clear out the plaque, the brain plaque, and to get just like the specific healing that it needed. So the speech therapy plus the juice plus the better brain capsule helped my brain actually heal. So the brain thing took a little bit longer than the body, actually.
That makes sense. I mean, the brain is so complex, but what's amazing is that we support and give the nutrients it needs, it can bounce back. I used to work as a physical therapy assistant, and I had a 90 something, I think she was like 95-year-old woman who had had 5 strokes. And she went from being in a wheelchair in 6 months to be able to walk and throw a ball across the room and actually aim the ball at the physical therapist that she had a crush on and hit him in the butt. And so to be able to do that in 6 months, go from being in a wheelchair and half of her body was not moving. She couldn't lift her arm or anything. And then in 6 months of physical therapy in her 90s, be able to throw with her bad arm a ball across the room with perfect aim. She had a great motivation to hit him in the butt. That's what taught me how resilient the nervous system is at any age. And then she wasn't even taking anything nutritionally to support her. Just imagine what her results would have been had she been taking the things that you were taking to support your neurology. So it's exciting and fills us with hope when we're left with a traumatic brain injury, that we can support our body to heal and support our brain to heal, but know that it does take time. So, what about your partner? His car accident, his post concussion syndrome, did he have any residual issues that you helped him resolve with this formula that you had come up with?
So I definitely think that he loves taking the better brain as well, and the juice. Anytime now that we make the juice, because we've moved past the juice into making the capsules, because we have a proprietary way to preserve the whole plant flowers so that all the benefits are within the capsule. But yeah, so I'd say like the juice, he loves the juice. It really helps him clear out his brain, focus, feel energized. And then he takes all of our formulas just like I do every single day. So, if he has a call, if he has a business meeting, if he has to do graphic design or, design our website or something, he'll go ahead and take a better brain and be focused for that 4 to 6 hour period. So I definitely think that the formulas that I created inspired by the juice, help both of us every day, actually.
Now, you had told me before we hit record that your dog had some health issues, that you found natural remedies. Can you share that story as to how you've helped your dog to gain its health back?
Yeah, so I have a dog, Mary Jane. She's a lab pit bull Dalmatian mix, and now she's 14 and a few months. And in the, let's see, September, October of 2016, she was diagnosed with lymphoma, and the vet gave her 3 months to live. So lymphoma is a type of cancer, and she gave her 3 months to live with or without chemo. At the time we were making the juice, we were selling the juice at our dispensary in Sonoma County, and we were helping many people who had all sorts of weird ailments, like needing to detox. They had, not weird, but just they had ailments to deal with that weren't rare, I would say, not very common. And so we were helping all these people. I was helping myself. And so I decided to not give her chemotherapy. After research, I found out that they can't guarantee that chemotherapy has actually ever cured anyone from cancer. So I didn't support it, and it was very expensive. Basically a rent payment each month or more. So I decided to start giving her the juice in her food. And at first she like ate the food. Like, I was a little worried because it's green juice, right? But it, like I said, it tastes good. So she ate her food, and she again within 15 minutes energized. So going from fatigue to energized, just like I saw happen to me, I saw happen to her. And I was really really nervous about putting this into my hands of like, it's your job to save your, like, she was 12 at the time, and I've had her since she was 6 weeks old, so she's basically my baby. Like, I'm like a dog mom, she's my fur baby. So it was my job to save her life, and it was really weighing on me. I actually ended up going into a flare with my colitis because I was so sad. I was so freaked out. They told me, you have 3 months left with your best friend. And all I want to do was sleep in bed with her for those 3 months. But Dane said, no, like, you helped yourself. Again, he's there to inspire me. He's there to lift me up. It says, look, you helped yourself. You healed yourself. You've recovered. We can help Mary. We can do this. So we gave her the juice. We also bought some CBD oils that were made with whole plant. So they were raw oils with THCA and CBDA in them. But the oil, we would spend hundreds of dollars on this oil to put it in her food. It was olive oil with the acidic cannabinoids. But for some reason, she didn't respond the same way as she did to the juice. And I think it's because the oil's fat soluble and it takes a lot longer to digest and to be absorbed, and it's less bioavailable than the water juice, right? So the juice is like living, it's live, it's like buzzing. And so when you drink it, it's like now you're buzzing. But the oil has been cold steeped for 2 weeks, and the flowers have been dried and cured. So it's different. They still work, but different paces. So the oil was too expensive, but we were able to grow our own cannabis and continue making the juice. So we continued to give her juice in her bowl with the turmeric and ginger, and she continued to stay energized and not get sick. So she's still with us today.
Yay.
Yeah, she's still with us today, over 2 years in remission. And she's happy and healthy, sleeping on the couch right now, and still loves to play, run up and down the beach. And she has extreme arthritis because she's been running and jumping since she was a puppy. And so we give her what we have now. It's called Better Pet Relief, which is the whole plant cannabis flowers with turmeric and ginger. And we also add a little bit of black pepper extract to help the absorption, since it's been shown to really help the absorption of turmeric and other herbal medications.
So you've got a hemp supplement that relieves the inflammation and joint pain for animals.
Yeah, so it helps. We give it to her every day, and it helps her relieve her any pain from arthritis. Well, I also give her green lipped mussel, which is another like nothing that we make, but it's just something else for anyone who's listening for their dogs if they have arthritis instead of taking a pharmaceutical. So we give her the Better Pet Relief. And like I said, she's still with us today. She's happy. She's healthy. We take her to her holistic vet. We've had an MRI, checking to make sure everything's still okay in there. And we get blood tests and normal checkups, and she's great. She's doing great. So
that's super, super exciting. So she doesn't have lymphoma anymore?
According to the holistic doctor now, she's not dealing with lymphoma. She's just dealing with her getting older.
Got it. I am so excited to hear that. As a side note, remind me to tell you about this supplement that I know about that will reverse arthritis in animals. It's designed by the same doctor, one of the doctors that trained me. He was a vet before he became a naturopathic physician. And so he's developed supplements to actually reverse, and I've seen it work, reverse arthritis in humans. But he also designed that supplement for pets, and it really works. I had a cat live to be 20 years old. And at about 15, she started to get arthritis and she couldn't jump anymore. And then that's when I was turned on to the supplement, started putting in her food. She was able to fully jump. She was a 7-pound cat, very tiny, very slight, but she was in incredible pain. You couldn't pet her because of her back was in so much pain, but she would jump. And I wish I'd known wish I'd had access to, if I had a time machine, had access to your supplement that relieves the pain for animals. But after giving her this supplement, her arthritis began to reverse itself, and she could jump onto the bed, like full up. This is a really like high up bed. She could jump onto the bed. She could jump onto any furniture, pain free. You could touch her pain free. It was really cool. And I know it definitely extended the quality of her life, but also I believe it extended her life. But yeah, she lived to be 20. That is really cool to know that you can use natural medicine to help reverse arthritis, to help, and like your formulas that you created to help reduce inflammation and pain and joint pain. It's just so exciting because when we go to one doctor, if you only go to one doctor and follow one opinion, it's going to be, oh, the body doesn't heal itself. You have to get on this drug, and so there's
Mm-hmm.
so much that we we give up so much power when we just get one opinion.
Mm-hmm. If I can go off a little bit on that, when I um, when I told my GI doctors that I was no longer going to take, well, I wasn't going to take any pharmaceuticals for my ulcerative colitis. And I had one of the doctors call me and threaten me that she was gonna like put me away, or like somehow get me in some kind of medical trouble for endangering my life because I didn't want to take the the steroids or the medication. I can't remember the exact name. I think it starts with like an M or something. Meslamine, I think it was. And I just told her like, "No, I'm not gonna take it. I'm fine. I'm healthy. I'm gonna use medical cannabis. I'm using medical cannabis to manage my disease and, to manage my energy. And I'm eating, an organic diet to, stick in a limited diet, very limited diet. So low fiber, because fiber, I just can't deal with fiber. And you know, really paying attention to the quality of the food you're eating, because anything that was low quality, it would make me sick. So, but yeah, the meta they she kept calling me and scaring me into trying to fear monger me into like getting my bowel removed. And she's like, "You're gonna die if you don't take this medicine." I was just like, I'd never
Oh my
experienced
gosh.
anything like this in my life. And when it's a doctor, you kind of feel like, wait, like, am I you like I was already stubborn with my concussion and messed up there. So having this white coat doctor call me and tell me I'm putting myself in danger, it really was scary. It was really hard for me to decide, like, no, I'm going to put my foot down. I'm taking care of myself. I know my body better than anybody else knows it. Like, you know your body best, not anybody else. So it was hard to make that decision. And I can see that, talking to other people with IBD, it's hard to make that decision to go holistic and to go through that journey.
Any point in time, you can always go back. It's best to have a team of experts, both holistic and allopathic, and weigh everyone's opinions and then choose a course. And if things, you're choosing a path, but if things aren't getting better and they're getting worse, you can always, consult your other experts and doctors on your team. It's not like black and white, like you stop taking the medication and then like that's it, you're done forever. It's so silly. Why not experiment? I mean, I experiment with my diet and with my health all the time, and it's what helps me to dial in what my body needs, and what my body needs in the fall or in the winter is not what my body wants in the
Hmm.
spring or summer. So we have to be open to trying new things and taking in all the different kinds of information. But at the same time, we have to be very responsible with medications. A lot of them can't be just quit cold turkey. We have to know how to titrate off of them, how to get off of them safely. We have to work with our doctor or our specialist, so we need to act a little bit conservatively and be responsible and collect all this information and then be willing to experiment. You collect all the information and then at some point you have to take action, right? But then you have to like listen to your body, right? And make sure that what you're doing is benefiting you. So you immediately saw positive results, and so you kept going in that direction. If someone didn't see positive results, they saw negative results, they would want to reassess, not keep going and keep damaging their body. What's fascinating to me is that you, as a raw vegan, something that is considered probably one of the most healing diets in the world, developed this condition. So, isn't that interesting? And that's why I say I don't believe in one diet dogma, because we have to look at food as medicine, and not all, like, one
Mhm.
person's medicine is another person's poison, or raw vegan was healing for your body at some point and then not healing for your body at some point. And so to take away judgments, take away that it's some kind of conversation about our values. It's no, it's just like take away the charge around pot or marijuana or cannabis. It's just a plant, it's just herbs. You can use it responsibly or use it irresponsibly. You can use food responsibly or irresponsibly, and it's not that anyone's good or bad. It's just listening to your body right now and what it needs right now. And so you have been dialing in your diet and your supplements and using herbs in order to heal yourself, and you're listening to your body and going, this works, this doesn't work. And you've navigated this path to where you've created excellent health. And I, first of all, commend you for the amount of work that you've put into yourself, and also then turned around with the mission of helping others. And that's really exciting when you can start to see hundreds of people gain benefits from everything, all the work that you've done. So that must be incredibly exciting, launching this business, to be able to see how much you can help other people.
Yes, that's what drives us every single day in Eva. Every day is our goal to find someone who could benefit, really. Someone who is looking for this sort of alternative um, route, and someone who's open to. I'm going to say, actually, a lot of people, they say, I'm tired of taking my pharmaceuticals. I don't want to take
Mm.
my two handfuls of pills in the morning. I wish that I could just, change my diet and my exercise, and I wish I could go natural. Like, could you help me go natural? So I love that. That drives me every day to go out there and look in the world to see, like, oh, if people are looking for something that we can provide, I would love to help them, because I know that, like you said earlier, how Dane, took his care about me, and he puts that 110%, 150 million% into Eva. He cares about Eva, just like he cared about me when I was at my worst. And he cares about Eva every single day that way. And the people that we help, and or the people that we are currently helping and then want to. We really, when I got to this level of physical and mental health where now I'm able to actually be a personal trainer again. I can go and help people work out. I can help people with nutrition consulting, and actually inspiring them with my story, to say, like, look, I was half dead, and now I'm, like you said, like, helping other people with the same ailments. So, or similar, autoimmune or chronic pain ailments. So like I said, it's just, it it's fulfilling, and it's so hard in this life to find something that you want to wake up and you're excited about every single day. And you can hear it in my voice. It just makes me feel so good to want to, and to, like, feel the moral duty to help others and to spread this information. Because what if they don't know it exists? What if they think, oh, well, I don't want to get stoned, pot's just for losers, or pot's just for hippies. But they don't realize that cannabis juice, hemp juice, whole organic hemp flowers mixed with other superfoods can help so many different things, like pain relief, getting into a better mood, helping you focus, helping your energy, helping you sleep, helping your animal, whether it's a dog or a cat or a ferret or a lizard or a fish, feel better. So it's just, they all have endocannabinoid systems.
That's something I definitely wanted to touch on. I know we've had 4 different experts on cannabis and hemp, the endocannabinoid system in the body before, but every time someone talks about it, they kind of bring a little bit of a different perspective. So for those who've never heard of this, the receptors in the body, can you just give, like, the layman's explanation as to why our bodies are really compatible with this herb?
So we have an endocannabinoid system. Endo means inside. So we already have receptors and cannabinoids in our body. And cannabinoids are also found in the plant cannabis. The first scientist, the reason they're called um, cannabinoids is because forgive me for getting his name, but I believe he was an Israeli scientist who like identified the first cannabinoid and the first endocannabinoid. And so endocannabinoid system. So we have receptors in our body, right, to receive these cannabinoids. But when we're stressed out, we make less cannabinoids naturally. And so then when we take in external cannabinoids from hemp or cannabis, then it's like getting a multivitamin. So it's fulfilling that deficiency. So it's basically, I just like to think of it as vitamins. Like that's what I like to call it, like vitamin cannabis, right? Because
I love it.
you have receptors for it. You make it naturally in your body. So it's like amino acids, right? We have essential amino acids and we have non-essential amino acids. Non-essential amino acids we make in our body, right? So it's like that, but what happens if you're deficient? So it's always good to eat protein so that you have that complete protein, all those amino acids for your body to break down and form, muscles, new cells, recover, etc.
Right.
So when I think of the endocannabinoid system, I just think of like it's just another set of receptors for a vitamin that we aren't taking anymore. Because if you look at the history of cannabis, it's only been 100 years, 100 years, one of our lifetimes before of prohibition. So before the past 100 years, we had cannabinoids in our food, in our medicine, like pharmaceutical medicine, and people were getting more cannabinoids in their diet on a daily basis. So they were getting that vitamin. And then now I believe that we have a epidemic of what I call endocannabinoid deficiency syndrome, which is where people are deficient in making their natural cannabinoids. And so that's why they feel so much better when they ingest CBD oil or Eva CBD capsules or, when they ingest edibles, because they're like, oh, I feel so much better, when I eat cannabis. And it's because they were deficient in it.
Right. Yeah. Another expert who came on the show talked about how when we're deficient in certain essential fatty acids, and the body's using it up for something else, that then the body robs the raw building blocks to make our own cannabinoids to make something else. And so if we're nutritionally deficient or in state of stress, then we're not making enough of that nutrient in our body. And so you're saying taking it externally. And again, this is not taking something that makes us high. It's taking an herb, unadulterated and raw, so it doesn't get us high, but what it does is it fulfills that nutrient need. And people notice that they have more energy, they're calmer, they're more focused, they have less sort of that ADHD going on, they have less anxiety, less depression, significantly reduced pain, sometimes even reduced inflammation. I have a quick story. There's a man who I know through a friend of mine. He's quite famous in this particular circle. It's a guy who goes around the world teaching things spiritually, and we follow each other on Facebook, and he's really good friends with a good friend of mine. And so I've been following his story, and he shared recently that for 15 years, now he's in his like late 50s, for 15 years he has been on a liquid only diet because he has such bad digestive problems. No medication was helping. He could only survive basically on very little caloric intake and liquids because of how horrible the pain and inflammation and gas and everything that was going on. He said that after he started taking CBD oil and CBD products, he's been able to, for the first time in 15 years, eat solid food. And now he says he can eat literally whatever he wants with no pain, no inflammation, no gas. And it's completely changed his life. And I thought that was really interesting because he's someone who meditates for hours a day, very low stress, very low cortisol levels, so he's been doing a lot of things on the healthy side, but he couldn't get that inflammation under control no matter what he did with his diet. Medicinal cannabis, the extracts from it has been the only thing that has helped him. And when I heard that, I was just like amazed. So there he was, like his body was deficient and unable to make, because of course he was deficient. He was not even consuming, hardly able to digest and absorb nutrients. And his body just was missing that part of basically it is starving endocannabinoid system. And when he took in those cannabinoids, it's what helped his body to finally reset and heal and end the storm, the 15-year storm of inflammation. And this is the kind of things I hear all the time about the healing properties of this plant. What I think is really interesting, I think everyone would benefit from learning the history of cannabis, because before the prohibition was designed by legislate, it was lobbied so that this one particular businessman could make money off of paper instead of off of hemp, because they had discovered a way to make paper from hemp, and he would have lost millions of dollars. So this one businessman was able to manipulate the system so that the entire country made it illegal, and then they could rally the marijuana madness and make everyone think that for a whole 100 years think it's very bad, and it's just another way to control people. But if we look back before the prohibition, everyone grew it. It was our ropes, our sails, which was the major way of transportation, back then, through ships, right? So all the sails and the ropes were made of hemp. The clothing was made of hemp. Food was made of hemp. It was incredibly common, and it was the most versatile crop out there. And so now we're finally coming back, which, people are waking up and seeing that we can build entire houses. We don't have to cut down trees anymore for our paper. We can create building materials out of hemp. Almost every day I consume hemp in the form of my protein shakes. We're coming back to this conversation of using it as paper, as clothing, as building materials, right? It's now becoming more and more common. But to now focus in on what you're discussing, which is taking it as medicine, I've got a few things I want to discuss. I want to talk about the questions in the Facebook group. We've got some questions that the listeners have for you. I know that you want to give away some of your bottles to the listeners, so I want to talk about that. I want to discuss each product that you guys have designed and the benefits that you've seen. So I want to talk about that. So what first? So I just wanted to let everyone know that you're going to do a giveaway. And would you like to go through the questions first in the Facebook group post, or would you like
Sure.
to? Okay.
Let's answer those, because that'll probably address some other things like about the formulas.
So Raina asks, what would you recommend for dementia, and what would you recommend for panic attacks?
So for dementia, first off, I want to say that our capsules can't cure, treat, or manage any disease. And for dementia, I would suggest our product Better Brain, because it has bacopa, matcha, and hemp. Bacopa has been used in Ayurvedic medicine for thousands of years for actually dementia, and there are studies behind it, so you can check those out on Google Scholar. And so bacopa has been studied to actually clear the beta amyloid proteins out of the brain, which is actually what gets caught up in there and can work its way towards causing dementia. So Better Brain, definitely for dementia, or if you want to clear that brain plaque out of your brain. So bacopa does that, but cannabis has also been studied to do that. So all of our capsules contain whole flowers. So they have everything's raw, and it's organic hemp flowers. So that's also going to clear out the brain and give you that phytocannabinoid nutrient just in case you're deficient in it, which could also be causing some memory loss or some faults in the brain, right?
Can you ship worldwide, or is it just the United States?
We can ship worldwide as long as the country accepts USDA organic hemp.
Got it. Very cool. So again, This doesn't make you high.
No, it will not. Yeah, so it's perfectly fine for, grandma, grandpa, whatever, that, they're worried and they've seen reefer madness and they don't want to turn into a crazy monster. So yeah, it will not get you stoned. It will just clear out your brain. I honestly take Better Brain every single day. Every single morning I take a capsule of Better Brain. And I took one before this show as well.
Does it matter dose based on body weight or dose based on symptoms, or is it just one a day no matter what?
They're formulated to last 4 hours because that's the normal half-life of the herbs that it contains. And so if you're looking for an entire day of super brain power, then I would say take one when you wake up and then one later in the afternoon. And the formulas are dosed based off of research I did to find the best dose of Bacopa, the best dosage of the cannabinoids, and of matcha green tea. So it's organic matcha green tea that's super high in L-theanine. And L-theanine really helps you feel focused and gets your brain into flow. So it kind of feels like, if you know what flow is, because you know what I'm talking about? Like you feel like you forget about time and space and you're just continuously doing whatever. You get totally involved in whatever you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why these interviews are 2 hours long.
And that's what I was thinking too when I was saying it. I was like, kind of like this podcast where you get into the flow of just talking. Yeah, it increases your stamina, your concentration, your memory. And it's also, Bacopa is an adaptogenic stress reliever. So people use it for stress relief and they also use it for pain relief, which I just found out after, formulating it into Better Brain for a brain formula, but it can also even help you with pain relief.
That's cool. So when I start taking this, people are going to notice the podcast is even better.
Yes.
Awesome.
If it could get any better.
Aw, thank you. What about panic attacks?
So panic attacks, I would highly suggest no pun intended, our Better Mood product. So our Better Mood has valerian root, lemon balm, and whole plant hemp flowers. And the valerian root is a tiny little dose to help you calm down. So it's usually used for insomnia, but it's also used for anxiety and to increase the GABA receptors. So receptors, just imagine them like open doors or closed doors. And when we're stressed out all the time, when we're anxious all the time, which I am very familiar with, then our GABA doors shut. And so then we have GABA in our body, but it's not able to be received and used. And then we also tend to make less of it as well, right? Because we're overstressed, so we're not making those happy chemicals as much. And so Better Mood, valerian root, has been studied to open those receptors, open those doors to allow the GABA to come in and tell your body and your brain to relax, calm down, take a deep breath. It's okay. And then the other ingredient is lemon balm, which is totally safe even for kids. Many kids take lemon balm for anxiety and focus. It's been studied actually on children. Like there was a study with over 300 children. They used lemon balm to help them in school, so to decrease their anxiety so that they could focus more. And I thought that was really interesting, and I loved how they used children because it really shows the safety of the herb.
What was the result of the study? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, it was all positive. They got better test scores, was the number one thing. They got measurably better test scores when they took the lemon balm in the morning.
And so how many doctors tell parents that their kids need to be on a drug like Ritalin? And that's like their first go-to versus, like this is what frustrates me so much is like how many kids out there are put on pharmaceutical medications as children while their brains are still growing and developing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And instead of trying cutting out sugar, cutting out hidden sources of caffeine, because like these kids are drinking, pop and soda, adjusting sleep times, looking at allergens in the food, and looking at working, doing emotional mental work. But no, the doctor goes, oh, okay, it's time to put your kid on Ritalin. Clearly, this is what's going to help. It's like, well, what about the 20 other things we could try first? And here's this study that has one herb, lemon balm, showing that helps children to calm down and get more focused and get better results in school. And yet it's not emphasized to doctors, because doctors' their job is to peddle drugs. So there, I'm on my little angry soapbox, and I'm going to step off my soapbox because I know everyone listening to this already is in line with me, and they're like, preaching to the choir. I get it.
Yeah.
So it's just, that's my frustration and that's another reason why I'm doing this show, is how many parents have we now educated and helped and are going to help to know that there's another choice. And I'm not saying, like, listen, I know that there's people out there who've said that Ritalin has helped them and it's actually changed their life for the better. And I believe that drugs have their place, right? And what if everyone knew about Lemon Balm or about Better Mood and Better Brain, your products? What if people knew that there is another choice that they could try and see which one works better for them? And so just opening up the playing field to allow for more choices that are science-based, that get results and that are natural, that have way less side effects. So I'm thankful that you're here today to share and just enlighten us. And if there's one thing that people walked away from this episode, I want them to know that there are more choices out there that are viable for them. So I'm excited. So you got Better Brain, Better Mood. Let's go down the list of questions. We might touch on another of your products. Darlene says, how can someone use this to break an addiction to pain medicines?
So, hello, Darlene. Thank you for your cannabis question. Our formulas may help someone with a pain medication addiction by employing phytocannabinoid therapy. So what we've already talked about with, being deficient in phytocannabinoids. But depending on what it is causing them to turn to the drugs will depend on the right formulation for them. As they taper off the hard pain drugs, they will I would suggest taking our Better Relief, which is what I take for pain and inflammation and what other customers take for pain and inflammation. Then that's what I would work in. So I would work with a doctor to taper off the hard drugs, to start increasing the raw cannabinoids, and the turmeric and ginger are also anti-inflammatory, anti-pain medications. Many studies have shown how CBD and whole plant hemp can reduce the side effects of withdrawal by nourishing the endocannabinoid system. So the ECS, or endocannabinoid system, controls appetite, mood, sleep, and sexual drive. So if we're able to supplement the body with the phytocannabinoids as it's in that withdrawal mode, I think that it's really going to help the person get off of those pain meds more quickly than if they had to, go to like a less, like another pharmaceutical, right? Because that is still toxic to them. So we're moving from a completely pharmautically made, maybe it could basically be toxic. If you look at the adverse effects, I mean, it's crazy, right? So the thing about pain meds is they block the pain gateway. And then when they wear off, they open the pain gateway. So our body doesn't stop sending, let's say they have like pain in their back, right? So you have pain in your back and you take an opiate. So it shuts the gate in your brain. So your brain says, oh, there's no pain. I'm out of pain for the next, like 4 hours, right? But then as soon as that opiate wears off, that gate opens. And then your body's like in extreme pain. Why? Is because the pain signals never stop. So the pain in your back, the signals are still being sent up to the brain, like little people with little messengers saying, you're in pain, you're in pain, you're in pain. And so that's why opiate addiction, I think, is like such a big problem in our country right now, is because it's all or nothing. It's no pain or all the pain in the world. And people are going through these, well, without it, I'm in extreme pain, right? Like you can't even move without the opiate, but the
Mm-hmm.
opiate allows them to just function. And so it will be a journey that should have support to taper off of hard pain meds onto a natural formula such as Better Relief, because it's not going to get you stoned. It's not going to take your mind somewhere else. You will have to do some self develop, like you're going to have to go through a journey of figuring out what is causing the pain and how to use a bunch of holistic methods to handle it, because I don't know what this person's on, right? I don't know why they're in pain. I don't know why they started taking the medication. So I would really have to know their background. But just
Right.
for anyone in general, it's going to be a better solution, I believe, than an
Mm-hmm.
opiate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are on pain medications who have nothing physically wrong anymore. But like you said, the body isn't broken anymore. It's not like they have a broken bone or they have a ripped tendon or a pulled muscle. There's nothing physically wrong anymore. The body's healed, but because they're now caught in this cycle, when they get off of the pain medication, it ends up opening the floodgates and now they're experiencing pain, even having some inflammation in the body. It's such a bigger experience in a negative way. What you want is to finally close that and end it. One thing I heard from Kristen Bowen, the founder of my favorite magnesium soak, the Living the Good Life Naturally magnesium soak, and she's coming back on the show in a few weeks. I'm really excited. She talks about how magnesium, when we have magnesium deficiency, which is incredibly common, that the body cannot turn off pain, the pain receptors cannot like end it. Go, okay, I'm done feeling pain now. There's nothing broken anymore. I'm good. Like the body cannot shut that off. And so it's kind of like an exposed wire where the body's going through this loop of experiencing pain even though it doesn't need to anymore. Because pain serves us. It lets us know there's something wrong. I need to take it easy. I need to like stay off that foot or whatever. But it's not serving us anymore in chronic pain when there's nothing broken anymore. So if it's a matter of something, they're on that medication because they need to just to have some relief while they're healing, that's one thing. But oftentimes people then, like you said, become addicted because they're physically addicted to it, but also they don't want to have to go up against that wall of pain when they get off of it. What I'd like to say though is that everyone should work with their doctor that prescribed the medication or work with a doctor that can alter their medication and never just go cold turkey. It can be a very dangerous.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that you'd want to find a doctor that knows how to titrate. There's one doctor that I interviewed. I am forgetting her name at the moment, but she is in California and she is an MD that specifically works with medicinal marijuana and helping people transition from pain medication onto medicinal marijuana. And so I will I'll make sure that she's linked in the show notes, that episode is linked in the show notes, because she'd be a great doctor for people to work with or to consult should they want to get off of their pain medication and onto your Better Relief supplement. In addition to, like you said, other holistic means to help come to an end of having their body be addicted to the pain medication, should that be their goal. And the next question that she had was, is this safe for children?
Yes, it is safe for children because it is non-psychoactive, and all of our capsules are just whole herbs, whole plants. They're all raw, vegan, and just not non-psychoactive is the biggest thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So children, and I think she said how, I think she may have asked like, how can children use it or something?
How can this be used with children? Yes.
Okay, yeah, so we talked earlier about better brain and better mood, right? So better brain can help them focus in school and be essentially a possible replacement for an ADD medication. I would also run that by their doctor because I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you 100% sure. But I would say our better brain would be a great alternative to it. And then the better mood can help them with anxiety, because sometimes it's not just like an inability to focus, it's maybe emotional anxiety, emotional depression. Kids are people too. Okay. So it doesn't matter what age you are, you have an endocannabinoid system. You have anxiety, you have sadness, you have happiness, you have an appetite, you have trouble sleeping. It doesn't matter what age you are, whether you're an infant or 90 years old. So, of course, children can benefit from using these herbs in this plant. And one of the big things I think that children can benefit from phytocannabinoid therapy is to help them reduce toxin overload that may happen from playing outside at the parks, which have pesticides, or under the polluted air, which we know, a lot of the air is polluted nowadays, or within polluted waterways such as rivers, oceans, and lakes that have more pollution than they should, but we still want to go and have a good quality of life and go camping and go into the river. So it can help them, like better relief with the turmeric and ginger can help them with like detoxing, basically, because they're smaller, so they're going to build toxins much more quickly, which could then result in anxiety, insomnia,
Right.
problems with attention, right? So I think that, but first off, it's a multivitamin. So whole plant hemp flowers, phytocannabinoids, it's a multivitamin. So whether you choose better relief, better brain, better energy, better mood, even our better sleep, if the child has insomnia from something, there's many children have chronic diseases, autoimmune diseases as well. So they can't sleep, they can't eat, they have all the same problems that us adults listening to this have, and we don't even think about it. So children can use this in all the same way adults can. And the great thing about our capsules is, if you think the dose is too large, it's all powder. So you can open the capsule and just do like half a capsule and mix it into some water and have the child drink it, and then half a capsule later. So even if you wanted just to give them a smaller dose of the phytocannabinoid therapy and the other herbs.
And it's legal to do that in the US?
Oh yeah, if it's legal in your state to give your child hemp protein or hemp seeds, then they can have hemp flowers.
I like that explanation. It's like, well, yeah, of
It's
course.
it's a food. It's a
Right.
food. So
Yes. Yes.
as long as you're using it as a food, how you said earlier, like some people, you can abuse it or you can use it. Like with food, you can abuse food or you can use food. Like with anything, you can use it. You can use food, you can eat food medicinally, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
I have to put my, to stay in ulcerative colitis remission, I have to eat food medicinally. And when I go outside of that range to eating recreationally, I feel it. I feel the fatigue. I feel the inflammation. When I decided to have chocolate ice cream 2 nights ago, like I knew the next morning I was going to be drowsy from that sugar and the inflammation the sugar caused. So, and of course, I just took some extra better relief to decrease that inflammation and felt better, and went to go work out outside to really sweat it out and get back to homeostasis and a healthy state. So it really is, I think, using the capsules is to have a better quality of life, which is
Mm-hmm.
really important. So no matter if you have a chronic disease or you're healthy, just incorporating EVA CBD or like EVA into your life can help you just have a better quality of life. Rather, you need more focus, or you're PMSing and you need to be in a better mood that day, or you have a podcast to do and you're insecure about your brain, so you take the better brain to feel like, oh, I was actually able to talk and hold a conversation and say the things I wanted to say.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Emily says, what is full spectrum?
So full spectrum, okay, so we use whole plant right now. So we use the whole plant flower, and that's like what I'd suggest is like A++, right? It's the entire thing, uh, proprietary process, preserved, and then ground down into a green powder similar to matcha green tea. And then it's formulated into the capsules. So full spectrum would be including all of the cannabinoids and the terpenes the naturally present terpenes in the plant. So, for example, ours is full spectrum, but it's also whole plant full spectrum. So it's like a little step above. Full spectrum can be you can get a full spectrum extract, which would be using the whole plant and like the oil I talked about earlier. You could take a whole flower. Okay, so you take the flower, the cannabis flower, the hemp flower, you put it in some olive oil, and you shut it and you put it in a dark place, and you shake it once every day, and you leave it in a dark cupboard for 2 weeks. And then you strain the oil out from the flower, and now you have a full spectrum tincture. So it has all of the cannabinoids that were fat. Well, actually, so would that be full spectrum? You may need to heat it a little bit if you wanted THC and CBD in there, but you basically have a raw full spectrum tincture at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Full spectrum, it just means it's containing all of the cannabinoids and all of the terpenes that are naturally present in the plant.
Right, because most CBD companies out there, or CBD oils, not full spectrum because they filter out and they only allow for CBD, and there's no terpenoids. There's like over 1,000 phytochemicals from the cannabis plant, and we're not getting it from these tinctures
Yes.
unless it's whole
Yes.
plant.
Yes. So most of the tinctures you see, if it says CBD oil, then most of them on the market, especially the inexpensive ones, the cheap ones, are CBD isolate. So they actually isolate one single molecule out of the plant. And this makes it a lot less bioavailable. So studies have shown that whole plant, such as the capsules that we have, using the whole plant or like cannabis juice, is about 98% bioavailable. But once you start extracting it down and getting down to just the isolate, the CBD isolate, then it becomes near 6 to 12% bioavailable. So you're paying, let's say $200 for 1,000 milligram CBD tincture, which most people get, less than that. But I'm just going all the way up, right? So what's 6% of 1,000? So you're going to take that entire expensive CBD oil, but realistically, your body's only absorbing 6% of it. And that's not really affordable, right? That's not great for people who are in pain, trying to heal, or just trying to feel better and live a better quality of life. So if the best option is to do full spectrum, and the better option is to do full spectrum, and then the best option is to do whole plant. So whole plant's really rare. We are one of the only companies on the market, to my knowledge, the only company in the entire industry, cannabis and hemp, that's doing our method, which is using the entire hemp, the entire flower in our product.
But you said the flower and the plant, right? Does that include like the roots, like the stem, everything, the whole thing?
So no, we usually use flower. So the flowers, when we do grind it down, there's going to be some stems and seeds in there. So you're going to get some of all like those extra nutrients that are found in the stems and seeds, which is more CBG. And the seeds are complete protein, and they have the omega-3s and omega-6s. Hemp actually has the perfect human ratio of omega-3 to omega-6. So if you take hemp seeds, like that's the best, way better than fish oil.
That's so cool.
So the full spectrum, I mean, it's a big debate, and that's why I'm so adamant about whole plant and then full spectrum, because it is hard to find an organic whole plant flower that's been comprehensively lab tested and has zero mold, zero yeast, zero aerobic bacteria, zero pesticides. Because if you're like, I'm all about quality, so it needs to be the best. So if you are looking for, some sort of relief from cannabis or hemp, definitely go full spectrum. But if you can stay away from an oil and get an actual whole plant capsule or powder, like the things that we have, then that's going to be your best bet.
So yours is hemp, not, I mean, can you just explain where do you get yours from? You guys are growing it yourselves, or you work with a farm? How does that work?
So we work with a farm that has been certified by the USDA as organic hemp, and they're under the Farm Bill, and it's in Oregon, and then they also are certified by the DEA. So it's 100% legal for them to ship us the hemp and for us to formulate it into our capsules here in California, and for us to ship our capsules worldwide. So it's just like hemp seed, but it's the flower. So it's just another part of the another part of the plant, but it's considered food.
And what would you say to those who say that there's less medicinal properties in hemp than in cannabis, than in the cannabis that has THC in it?
Yes, that is another really big debate online that I've seen. So we use therapeutic hemp. So it's specifically grown to be phytocannabinoid rich and organic and to not have any contaminants in it. There's another type of hemp, which is just industrial. And industrial, well, depending on what farm you get it from, because it could be an organic therapeutic industrial hemp farm, which we have found as well. So the one hemp that people are talking about is more like the strain that looks like bamboo. And that one, a lot of times they don't bring it to flower. They just grow the stalks and then they extract the stalks for CBD. And that hemp it's a completely different strain, okay? And it has like 2% CBD. So they need like acres of it. They need tons of it to extract that CBD isolate from it, which is going on in the market right now. And so that's not the same. That's not the same hemp that we use. We're using cannabis flowers, right? But they've been certified by the USDA and the DEA as organic hemp. And so it's rare. I'm telling you, it's rare. It was really hard to find because when we were in the cannabis industry, we could grow it ourselves and give it to our patients and really pay attention to that quality, right? And we grew vegan plants. So we made sure it was like top-notch quality. And then we had to find a source because so we were living in Sonoma County, right? And we had the EVA, the delivery. But in 2017, Santa Rosa experienced the biggest fires in California history.
Mm-hmm.
And that fire required us to lose our delivery, and we were set up to start a dispensary up there and be in the cannabis industry. But because of the trauma that happened, we ended up moving to SoCal and getting more into the CBD hemp industry, which is different than the California cannabis industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's different licensing. We're more dealing with food, right? And then they're dealing with specifically cannabis. So we switched industries, even though it's the same plant. And all the same education. So it's a legal thing to switch industries, but we no longer have that delivery service because California went through this crazy legalization that is just a mess here.
Got
It's
it.
really bad.
Well, and you're serving more people now.
Exactly. So when we did realize, we can go, I was so excited to find this hemp that I could ship, across the world, because you're right, we can serve so many more people and so many more, we can make more products, and the capsules are just the beginning. Right now we're in research and development and we're making more products. So to help, with topicals and with different kinds of edibles that actually taste good, not just swallow a capsule with some water. So things that people are looking for and ask us for, but we haven't had yet.
I want pasta. I want hemp pasta.
Okay. Well, we're working on that we can work towards that, because we do like a hemp pesto right now with we call it flour powder.
Nice.
So do you mean pasta like
dried shells, or you know what I mean? Like fusilli and dried pasta, but hemp pasta. I'm gluten-free, so I eat lentil pasta. It's so high in protein. And then chickpea pasta. I mean, not like every day, but it's such a cool treat to have because it's high in protein and good fiber. And I just thought that'd be really neat to eat a type of pasta from hemp that's also healing.
Well, you have an idea there. We're gonna have to work on that one. That one sounds like a maybe 3 to 5 years of research and development. Because I did watch, the company Bonza.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that I saw them. I saw their like they were in this like entrepreneurial documentary, and it showed like how they started and all the trials and tribulations they went through to get to where they are now. So it was a lot of testing, and it's really working with the plant to get it to perform correctly, stick together, and make come out as a pasta shape and all this stuff. So it was really interesting. But talking about hemp versus food, like hemp in food, if you check out our Instagram at Eva CBD, EVA CBD, that you can see, you'll start to see us posting photos of food with the hemp phytocannabinoids in it. So we're working towards really marketing it and selling it as the food that it should be, and that how we should be eating it. We should be having hemp pesto and hemp, just sprinkling hemp, like you sprinkle oregano in your pasta, I'm sure. So why not just have hemp like right next to it, put some hemp in there, and now you got your daily essential phytocannabinoids. It's like you're taking a vitamin by just sprinkling some herbs on your dinner.
And it tastes good. Now, what if I heat it up?
Oh yeah.
What if I take the hemp powder and I heat it up? Does that create THC?
Well, to be registered as hemp, it has to have lower than 0.3% THC. So it's going to have that amount, which is super, super low, right? Not even 1%. So if you did heat it up past 220 degrees Fahrenheit for over 20 minutes, whatever THCA, the 0.3%, would convert. But that's the thing, is we don't suggest heating it, because you're actually losing, just like, the raw vegan diet, you're losing essential enzymes and living enzymes if you do heat it. So it's best if you actually use it after. But if you do heat it, since it's super high in CBD, about 20%, it's 20% CBDA in its raw form. So if you heated it, you would have basically 20% CBD. Let's say you put it in your pasta sauce, right? So
Mm-hmm.
then you would have 20% CBD in your pasta sauce, and
Got it.
then 0.3% THC.
Yeah. So no one can
Uh,
get high. That probably won't show up in a drug test. I mean, I'm not sure, but it probably wouldn't. So making pasta wouldn't be the best way to go about it because you want it to be raw.
Yeah, ideally you want it to be raw, but unless you wanted to bake it into something and get that and turn the CBDA into CBD, but ideally the best way to take it is in its raw form.
Cool. Very cool. Which is what it is in your capsules. I'm
Yes.
excited to follow you. I have everyone follow you on Instagram because as you're coming out, you're doing all the R&D and coming out with all the cool things. We can give our input and be oohed and awed, and hopefully you'll be doing some R&D that requires our participation.
Oh yeah, like you can, tell me some recipes you want me to make, or um we also, I want to make some videos. So if you wanted to, say, hey, can you make my favorite pasta recipe and show me how to add hemp to it, or, show me how to add better energy to it. Better energy is one of our capsules that has hemp, matcha, and beetroot. And when I manufacture it, it smells delicious. Like something about beetroot and matcha and hemp, for some reason it smells like chocolate. I have no idea why. But it's like this earthy floral, because chocolate is like earthy and floral, but it's like this earthy floral flavor. And I love the better energy as like a pre-workout and just like as a drink, basically. So because I love matcha tea. But yeah,
Got it.
I would love to if anyone listening, is curious about how to use hemp daily in their food or in their life, in their coffee, even whatever it is. I would love to have their questions on your Facebook, or if they email you, or they could even email us. And can I say the email?
For sure.
Okay, it's howdy, HOWDY, at evaworldwide.com. And so if you have any questions about the formulas or anything about, related to this podcast or extended, just please reach out to us. We're a small business full of love, and we really want to help people. And whether you're sick or not, because, this is, you want a better quality of life. You don't need to be sick to have a better life.
Wonderful. So you have mentioned better brain, better mood, better relief, better energy. What other products? Have we missed any
Better
products?
sleep.
But oh, better sleep. Okay.
Yes.
And is there anything else?
And then better pet relief is what Mary Jane takes to help her with her inflammation, pain, arthritis, and to stay healthy in her remission.
Very cool. Well, so we covered the questions and the history of your company, your story, your dog's story, your partner's story, and how much you guys are helping people. Do you have any stories of success of your customers? That is there anything that stands out in your mind that you'd like to share?
Yes, there's the biggest one was Lola. She is an Italian greyhound, and I know it's like the dogs, people, something I've learned after starting these capsules is that people tend to care more about their dog than they do themselves. So they will do anything to help them. And Miss Lola was 1 day away from being put down.
Oh my gosh.
And they had already remortgaged their house because they were trying to save this dog's life. So tens of thousands of dollars have been spent on tests, medications, vet appointments, etc., to try and save this beautiful dog's life. And a friend of a friend, we give out samples of our products, and a friend of a friend said, "Hey, this is just the last resort. Why don't you try and give her this capsule?" And the mother of Lola is actually a nurse. So she opened the capsule, mixed it with some water, put it in a syringe, and shot it down Lola's throat. And just like with Mary, within 15 minutes, 20 minutes, she was up, running around, acting like a completely normal dog again. And she was literally on her deathbed. Everyone had already said goodbye. It was go time, like it was goodbye time. And so they were really confused when this happened. And so then they told us about it, and we sent them a bottle, and she started taking it, and she started healing, and she started eating again. And the vets, like, they spent months trying to figure out what was wrong with this dog, and they finally found out after starting our medication and stopping. They went through over 60 different medications. Okay, and after starting ours, this is the only medication Lola takes now, Better Pet Relief, one a day. And they found out that she has an autoimmune disease.
Oh my gosh.
And this is what helps it. So and it saved her life. And Lola's with us. I spoke with her mom yesterday, and Lola's with us, and she's healthy and happy. And her mom was saying, like, I saw what amazing things it did for her. And that was about 2 years ago now. So that was a really big success to know it was, it made such a huge impact on, and Lola was their baby as well. They don't have, Lola was their baby as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's, anyone with a dog, like most people, they feel like this dog is my kid. They feel the same way. You feel that love in your heart for the animal.
Of course, absolutely. If most pet owners care for their dog like they would care for a child. And it's interesting that I've heard this several times that people with autoimmune conditions, humans with autoimmune conditions, have found great results using hemp, using cannabis to support their body and going into remission. And then here you have the experiences with animals and humans having that. So it's quite exciting. Do you have any human testimonials that you'd like to share?
Yes. One is one of our number one, I call her, and one of our number one customers, because she was the first person to subscribe to our juice up in Santa Rosa, because the juice immediately helped her. And she was a dentist for over 20 years, and she didn't use gloves, and she was mixing the heavy metal, like mercury and like, I don't know all the metals in dentistry, but now it seems, like she was mixing fillings barehanded and like breathing in those chemicals. So she ended up having a lot of heavy metal toxicity in her blood. So
Mm-hmm.
she had tons of pain. And when I met her, she was like limping to the door. Like she was like crunched over in pain, and just the sweetest woman I've ever, like one of the sweetest women I've ever met. And I just felt for her, and this juice seemed to help her. And she was on this detox regimen already from her doctors, and like three different doctors had given her, take this green powder in the morning. And so she was already doing all these holistic things, but they weren't working, and they weren't working fast enough for her. She was just getting worse. So then when she started drinking the juice and getting those raw phytocannabinoids, she started healing. And she she when I met her, before I met her, she was a yoga teacher. But when I met her, she was so sick, she wasn't able to teach yoga anymore. And she was a yoga teacher again for like 20 years, like as a dentist or something like that. But now, after drinking the juice, and then starting after we finished with the juice and then transferred over to the capsules, which is a shelf stable, formula of the juice, because juice only lasts about 72 hours unless you freeze it or do something to it, right? Cold pressure process it or something, which we were not about. So we found a way to preserve the whole flowers and the raw phytocannabinoids and put them in a capsule. So she now takes Better Relief every single day, and to continue her detox. And she is in tip top shape health. She's all healed. She's back to teaching body work. And she actually teaches this amazing method called Hannah Somatics. And I would love it if she could even be on your show, because her teaching me Hannah Somatics changed my life. So I helped her with my juice and my Better Relief, and she helped me with her methods of Hannah Somatics, which is neuromuscular training. So
Cool.
reprogramming the mind to attach to the body and attach to those muscles.
Yeah, set it up. Let's
I'll ask
let's
her.
get
I
her
will
on.
definitely ask her. I don't know how busy she is or anything, but I would definitely ask her, because it's she, like, again, she healed, and then she helps other people heal. So
Mm.
it's just another one of those people who went through their own healing journey and then wants to help others, and in such an amazing, caring, passionate way. So I'm really
Brilliant.
happy to still be in touch with her. I talked to her yesterday, and I love to be in touch with our customers, and just hear like where they are and how their quality of life is going, and how the capsules are continuously helping them with energy or pain relief or anything. And now her husband even takes our formulas as well, because he saw how well it helped her, and they're both in their, like, maybe 60s or 70s, I'm not sure. And so if you're aging, you want to make sure you're taking all the antioxidants and, taking anti-aging supplements and foods, so that you still feel young and have that energy and have that vitality.
We are all aging. All of us.
Every day, right?
We all need the antioxidants. I don't care at any age, we all need the antioxidants. So just to clarify and complete her story, she found great success in the juice, but how about the capsules? When she started taking your capsules, was she already in remission, or did she notice a difference between the juice and the capsules?
She does notice a difference between the juice and the capsules. So let's see, we were giving her the juice until, let's see, we made the capsules in about 2017. So the juice, because it is water and you're taking a living plant with, like I said, buzzing enzymes, it's alive, right? If you look at it under a microscope, you see it moving. And you're juicing it and then putting it directly in your body, you're going to get a spike in energy and a spike in clarity, more than just taking the capsule, the Better Relief capsule. The Better Brain is different because it's formulated specifically to really hit your brain and clear it up and get you going. but the better relief with the hemp, turmeric, and ginger, which is more for anti-inflammatory, anti-pain. Turmeric's also great for the brain, but specifically for anti-inflammatory, um, she still calls and says, "Do you have any juice? Like, when are you gonna have the juice back?" And it's just green juice is hard to manufacture, and it's also because it is water. It's highly and it's raw. It's like dangerous. You know what I mean? Like in the way of it's raw juice, so it has to be consumed immediately, or it has to be high pressure processed, or it's because it's water, it has an ability to become contaminated much more quickly than a dry powder.
Well, like anything, like you've sold carrot juice. I mean, it has to
Right.
be processed and consumed right away, and it can only be refrigerated for a certain amount of days. And really, any juice from
Hmm.
fruit or vegetables, the best way to consume it is absolutely immediately, because it starts to oxidize, and basically the enzymes aren't fresh. And yeah, so there's definitely a lot of science that's proven that the best thing you can do is to immediately drink any juice. So there's a difference between the juice and the capsules, but she's still seeing results from the capsules. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, she's still seeing great results from the capsules, so much that she went on a extended vacation, and like her vacation went a little bit longer than they thought, and they actually ran out of the better relief capsules, and she takes it daily, like, in the morning as a multivitamin. And she told me she did feel the difference the 3 days that she didn't have it. She felt a little bit more fatigued and a little bit more inflamed, because I mean, you're taking an antioxidant, you're taking a superfood, so it's going to make you feel better. So you're going to notice if you don't take it, if you take it every day, you're used to feeling good. So if you don't take it for a few days, and you really do have, something going on in your body or some type of stress, then you will feel it. So she was able to say like, hey, I really know it's still working great, because when I didn't have it, I didn't feel as great.
Awesome. All right. So you'd mentioned a contest. Tell us a bit about that.
We would like to give away 10 free bottles to win. So we want 10 winners, and one winner gets a bottle. So one bottle per household. And you can go ahead and choose your own formula, whatever you think is going to be best for you, from evacbd.com, and we'll ship it directly to you. So 10 winners, 10 free bottles. Would love to help your listeners, and just they can go ahead and once they're chosen, they can go ahead and look at the site, and we'll give them a discount code to redeem their free bottle.
Thank you. That's so cool. So we're going to do that contest in the Facebook group. So those who've been listening who aren't already in our awesome Facebook group, go to learnturehealth.com/group, or you can go to Facebook and search Learn True Health and join our group. And soon after this episode is published, I'll make sure I put a post up, and so everyone can participate. And then we'll draw the winners about a week after. So no matter when you're listening to this, though, definitely join the group, because we do lots of fun giveaways and contests with our great guests. This has been so much fun and very enlightening, and I'm really excited. I know you said you're going to send me a bottle. I'm really excited to try it myself. I'll definitely share in the Facebook group what I experience. And I'd love to hear from the listeners as well, what their experience is as they try your products. And I'm excited to follow you and see where you take this, because it's just at its infancy. We're just starting, this whole wonderful cannabis journey. Now that the laws have shifted and now people's consciousness has shifted, we can now recognize that cannabis is not just an herb. It's not just one herb. It acts like, depending on the strain, it acts like 100 or even more herbs. It's just really interesting how, depending on the strain, you can get medicinal properties that are more supportive of this aspect or that aspect of health. And so it's so complex. Kind of like, think of it like mushrooms. You wouldn't just say I'm taking mushrooms for like healing mushrooms. You say I'm taking turkey tail for this, or reishi mushroom for that, or shiitake for this. And so to consider thinking about cannabis is like saying the word mushroom, right? There's not just like one cannabis, there's like hundreds and hundreds, right? So
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking forward to the day when when everyone can recognize that cannabis is just as diverse as mushrooms are, and that you would take for like seasoning, like you said, use it in food. Oh, I'm feeling a little run down. I'm going to use this strain in my pasta sauce to get this kind of result. And I'm going to also add some mushrooms, right, and other herbs to consider that we can add it as a food to get the medicinal qualities and also the nutrients that, like you said, it acts like a multivitamin. We're going to make sure that our endocannabinoid system is supported in our body by utilizing it in our food and also as a supplement. So this is exciting. We're just at the beginning. And I encourage listeners to follow you on Instagram. What was it? At Eva CBD?
Yes.
Awesome. And of course, all the links that go to all the products we talked about today and everything that Nicole discussed today is going to be in the show notes of today's podcast at learntruehealth.com. Nicole, thank you so much for coming here today. Is there anything that you'd like to share to wrap up today's interview?
I'm just really grateful to be on a podcast speaking about Eva and our goals and our passion and our love for the world, because I'm full of gratitude for you, Ashley, for having this show, and for all of the listeners who listen with an open mind and are here to learn, because it's, to have an open mind, to learn something new, to try something new, it's not easy. And so I just want to say thank you to everyone who has an open mind, who has listened and is like, maybe I will consider that, or maybe I will tell so-and-so about that. Maybe it could help them. Just because that's the goal, is to have a happier world and a healthier world than where we are now.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on the show. You're welcome back anytime. I'd love to learn more from you.
Thank you, Ashley. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Are you looking to optimize your health? Are you looking to get the best supplements at the lowest price? For high quality supplements and to talk to someone about what supplements are best for you, go to takeyoursupplements.com, and one of our fantastic True Health coaches will help you pick out the right supplements for you that are the highest quality and the best price. That's takeyoursupplements.com. Takeyoursupplements.com. That's takeyoursupplements.com. Be sure to ask about free shipping and our awesome referral program.